Welcome to Raw Machines, a journey into some of the world's most remarkable processes. At the Babylon Bell Foundry in Saarburg, traditional craftsmanship is upheld through strict technical discipline. Each bell is born of earth and fire, shaped by precise calculation, before it rises into the church tower and becomes part of the communal life. In this episode, we follow the final stage before the bell is given its voice. Founded in 1770 at the foot of the Saarburg fortress, the Babylon Bell Foundry continues to practice traditional bell casting, guided by generations of experience and strict technical discipline. The foundry's work includes casting bells, manufacturing bell frames and tower shutters, and restoring historic bell installations. Metal components are handcrafted on site, while the clappers are forged by a specialist hammer mill in southern Germany. For the 5-bell peal commissioned by the Catholic parish of St. Joseph in Merzig, the bell molds have been prepared over many months and are now ready for the metal pour. A bell mold consists of several precisely fitted components, each serving a specific technical function. At its center is the core, which forms the hollow interior of the bell and defines its acoustic resonance space. Surrounding the core is the false bell, an intermediate model that determines the bell's profile, dimensions, and wall thickness. A layer of graphite between the core and the false bell prevents adhesion and protects the mold surfaces. The outer shell carries the decorative reliefs and inscriptions in negative form. It is separated from the false bell by a coating of mold grease to allow safe removal. At the top sits the crown, which contains the pouring gate and the venting channels. Before casting, the false bell is removed. During the pour, molten bell bronze flows downward through the crown, filling the cavity between the core and the outer shell to form the bell's final shape and surface.
The
final preparatory stage begins with the dismantling of the bell mold and a systematic inspection of every technical detail. At this point, even a minor error could jeopardize months of work. First, the crown section is removed to access the body of the mold. Using a crane, the outer shell is then lifted vertically off the false bell. Thanks to the mold grease, the shell separates cleanly without cracking, confirming that the mold is fit for casting. Chalk markings are applied to the inner surface of the outer shell to guide the casting process. The number 4 indicates the pouring sequence, while a diamond symbol marks the front face of the bell, where inscriptions and decorative reliefs are located. These markings ensure precision during the pour. Once the outer shell is lifted from the false bell, attention shifts to the core of the mold. The crown is set aside, and the false bell has fulfilled its purpose. Hans Hein begins breaking away the clay layer of the false bell. Thanks to the graphite coating on the core, the clay separates easily, though it cannot be reused and must be destroyed. The outer shell and core are then cleaned by hand and with compressed air to remove residual dust and debris. The core is sealed with metal plates and reinforced with successive layers of clay and sand to ensure structural stability. Within this reinforced core, Mr. Weirich installs the clapper staple, a component that will be cast integrally into the upper interior of the bell. Its position must be precisely aligned so that the clapper strikes the sound bow correctly, producing the intended tone. In bell casting, sound is not a matter of chance, but the result of calculation, experience, and tightly controlled tolerances. In the next stage, Josef Merz applies a coating of graphite to the inner surface of the outer shell, carefully brushing it into every letter and decorative relief cast in negative. The core is treated in the same way. This graphite layer forms a protective barrier, preventing the molten bell bronze from adhering to or scorching the mold surfaces during casting. At the end of the workday, the molds for the Merzig peel are heated and thoroughly dried. The outer shells are warmed from the outside, while the cores are fired internally to remove any remaining moisture. Before being lowered into the casting pit, each mold must be uniformly dry and warm to prevent cracking caused by thermal shock. In traditional bell casting, even a trace of moisture or an incorrect temperature can destroy a mold, rendering months of preparation useless.
Okay, prima. Besser kann es nicht sein.
Die Formen?
Within the 5-bell peel, the 2 largest molds are installed permanently in the casting pit. Due to their size and weight, they are moved as little as possible to reduce the risk of damage. The molders must therefore measure and position the remaining molds with great precision. The 3 smaller molds are constructed on the foundry floor and fully assembled only after being lowered into the pit. Under the supervision of the master bell founder, Josef Merz and Hans Hein position the cores. Each core must be perfectly vertical and stable and is secured with wooden braces. The outer shells are then fitted over the cores, aligned precisely with the pre-established reference marks. The crown sections, including the pouring gates and venting channels, are set in place. These openings are carefully covered to prevent debris from entering the mold cavity. Finally, Josef Weirich and Czeslaw Sobolensky seal the joint between the crown and the outer shell with clay, completing the assembly and securing the mold in preparation for the metal pour. Once the bell molds are secured in the casting pit, the burial process begins. The pit is backfilled with topsoil, Mutterboden, sourced from the surrounding area, applied in layers approximately 20 centimeters thick to maintain precise control. After each layer, the fill height is marked with chalk on the pit walls to prevent deviation. According to Master Bell founder Herman, pure topsoil hardens under high temperatures, enabling it to withstand casting pressure and protect the molds. Each layer is leveled and compacted using an electric tamper. After nearly 3 days, only the vent pipes remain visible above ground, indicating that the molds are ready for the next stage. From the furnace, the casting pit is connected to the metal tap by a casting bridge. At the mouth of the pit, the molders construct a system of brick pouring channels, following chalk markings that define the main runner and the secondary runners. Because multiple bells cannot be cast simultaneously, the secondary runners are blocked with iron plates and opened sequentially, allowing the molten metal to flow into each mold in a predetermined order. The channel system must be strong enough to withstand the pressure of the molten bronze and high enough to ensure the molds are filled completely. Once construction is complete, the brick channels are sealed with clay and coated with graphite. This coating prevents the molten metal from adhering to the channels and protects their surfaces during the pour. Casting the Merzig peel requires approximately 4,100 kilograms of bell metal, known in the trade as Glockenspeise. According to traditional Limburg regulations, true bell bronze must consist of roughly 78% copper and 22% tin, with impurities not exceeding 2%, to ensure proper acoustic quality. Based on the size and weight of each bell, Czesław Sobolensky, responsible for operating the metal chamber, charges the furnace with precisely calculated quantities of copper ingots in preparation for alloying. The Saarburg Foundry continues to use a traditional flame furnace, Flammenoven, composed of 2 separate chambers, the firebox and the metal chamber. The fuel used is saffron coal, valued for the extremely high temperatures it produces at the flame's apex. To complete overnight preparations, the molders light a parquet fire, within the pouring channel system, drying the clay and graphite coatings ahead of the metal pour, scheduled for the following afternoon. On Friday morning, 110 days after mold making began, smoke rising from the chimney of the Babylon Foundry signals that the furnace has been fired. The day's work follows a strict schedule. At set intervals, the fireman clears the grate and feeds oak wood and coal into the furnace until the metal in the melting chamber reaches approximately 150 degree lopes. In the firebox, temperatures at the peak of the flame can approach 2,000 degrees Celsius, sufficient to fully melt the Bell alloy.
Wir haben jetzt 1:45, werfen jetzt einen Einsatz Kohl rein, der geht bis 3:15, 3:30, dann kommen wir gut hin, dann brauchen wir wahrscheinlich nichts mehr nachzuladen. Okay. Jo, gut.
Bell founders have no specific patron saint, yet at the Saarburg Foundry, they place their work under the protection of Saint Joseph. A statue stands in a wall niche beside the furnace chimney, and when the fire is lit, candles are kindled as part of a familiar ritual. As the founders explain, alloy composition, temperature, and metal flow can be controlled. But what happens inside the mold after the pour lies beyond direct human intervention. At that moment, faith becomes indispensable.
Unsere Hilfe ist im Namen des Herrn. Lasst uns beten. Herr, allmächtiger Gott, du verleihst auch unbeseelten Dingen die Ehre, zu deinem Dienst bestimmt zu werden. Wir bitten dich, gieße aus deinen Segen über dieses Metall und gewähre, wenn es jetzt in feurigen Strömen dahin fließt, dass es von deiner leitenden Rechten und durch deine schützende Güte recht und geziemend geleitet werde zur Formung der Glocke. Denn durch diese sollen deine Gläubigen zum Lobe und Ruhme deines Namens in der Kirche versammelt werden. Bitten wir durch unseren Herrn Jesus Christus, deinen Sohn, der mit dir und dem Heiligen Geist lebt und herrscht, Gott von Ewigkeit zu Ewigkeit.
Amen. Nun wollen wir noch gemeinsam ein stilles Gebet zum Gelingen des Gusses verrichten. In Gottes Namen.
Bitte die Tür hinten schließen.
Just before casting, tin is added to the melt to achieve the correct bell bronze composition. Because tin melts at a lower temperature than copper, it is introduced only at the final stage to preserve alloy quality. Bell casting is always carried out on a Friday, when the surroundings are at their quietest, minimizing vibrations during the slow cooling of the metal within the molds. Immediately before the pour, the melt is inspected one last time, and surface slag is skimmed off. Palm branches blessed on Palm Sunday are placed into the molten metal as a rite of blessing. A priest recites prayers for the metal and for the bell soon to be born, in the presence of the parish community.
Ein, weg. Auf.
When the master bell founder opens the tap hole, molten metal surges into the main runner and is then guided through secondary channels into the 5 bell molds in sequence. Each worker stands at a designated position, performing an assigned task to ensure the flow remains steady, continuous, and safe as each mold is filled. The molten metal carries immense heat and weight, yet it is governed by strict technical discipline. In that moment, bell casting is not merely a craft process, but a ritual where craftsmanship and spiritual belief exist side by side.
Preiset alle Stämme der Menschen den Herrn, preist ihn alle Völker. Machtvoll hast du gezeigt über unseren Erbarmen, in Ewigkeit wert sein Name. Ehre sei dem Vater und dem Sohn und dem Heiligen Geist, wie im Anfang, so jetzt und alle Zeit, in Ewigkeit.
After approximately 5 days in the casting pit, the bell molds are ready to be opened. The bells are left undisturbed over the weekend to allow the metal to cool slowly and stabilize naturally, avoiding vibration during this sensitive phase. On Monday, the molders begin dismantling the pouring channel system and excavating the bells one by one. Today, the final bells of the Merzig peel are brought to light. Within moments, Hans Hein breaks away the outer shell, months of labor reduced to fragments, to reveal the newly cast bell. The founders refer to this moment as the bell's birth, when its bronze surface is exposed to daylight for the first time. The atmosphere is tense with anticipation. Has the work of many months achieved the desired result? Members of the Merzig parish are present to witness the moment. The bell has not yet fully cooled. Its metal body still retains warmth. The core is then broken out from inside the bell. Gradually, the sand linings and cushions surrounding the clapper staple come into view. This staple has been cast integrally into the upper interior of the bell. A bell is a musical instrument, but it fulfills its purpose only when the clapper is suspended and strikes the sound bow correctly. Under Limburg regulations, a newly cast bell may not be delivered immediately. It must rest for approximately 3 additional weeks to continue stabilizing before undergoing formal acceptance, during which the bell's form, structure, and sound are examined one final time. The acoustic acceptance is carried out by an expert appointed by the diocese, responsible for evaluating the sound quality of each bell. Each bell is struck in sequence using an adjustable tuning fork to determine the fundamental pitch and assess the partials. The results are recorded in an official acceptance report. The entire new peel is then rung to evaluate its overall harmonic balance. Once acceptance is complete, the bells are cleaned and polished before leaving the foundry. During casting, a very thin layer of tin often settles on the surface, creating a natural silvery sheen. To preserve this finish, the molders clean the bells by hand, using root brushes, sand, and water, following traditional methods. After approximately 150 days of work, the process comes to an end. The peel is now ready for consecration and installation in the bell tower, carrying with it the skill of its makers and giving time a new voice.
Prost, Paul. Prost.
The Kirmes Festival in Niederdollendorf is a traditional parish celebration held annually in connection with the patronal feast and the religious life of the local community. The focal point of the festival is the parish church, where the solemn Kirmes Mass is celebrated and framed by the ceremonial Bayern bell ringing performed from the church tower, which plays a central role in summoning and uniting the congregation. Other festive elements such as processions, flag dancing, and shooting ceremonies serve primarily as complementary activities that honor and reinforce the shared local tradition.
Ta. Ta.
Traditional bell casting is a complex form of labor that demands patience, precision, and strict technical discipline. From mold making, core and mantle preparation, and the construction of the gating system, to alloy melting and metal pouring, each stage is carried out in a rigorously defined sequence, guided by experience accumulated over generations. Even the smallest deviation in this process can directly affect the bell's form, structural integrity, and acoustic quality. Yet, bell casting is not solely a technical activity. From the moment it is formed within the mold, a bell is created with a clear social and spiritual purpose, to sound in religious rites, major feast days, and traditional festivals, calling and uniting the community. The prayers offered on casting day reflect the founder's awareness that, while material and temperature can be controlled, the ultimate value of a bell's voice lies in faith and communal acceptance. Once unearthed, cleaned, stabilized, and acoustically tested, the bell enters the final stage of its life cycle. When it is raised into the church tower and set into motion during daily life and festive occasions, its sound becomes a bridge between the foundry and the shared space of the community. It is here that bell founding and bell ringing converge, sustaining a tradition in which manual craft, technical precision, and spiritual life remain enduringly intertwined. Thank you for listening to the end of this story. If you enjoy videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future stories. Raw Machines. Thanks you for watching, and see you next time.